Hello, my friends, and welcome back to a brand new episode of the Couch Potato Podcast. On today's show, Adam and I are taking ourselves a trip back to the 1880s, Tombstone, Arizona to be exact, as him and I sit down to chat about the 1993 Western classic Tombstone, which just turned 30 years old back on Christmas Day. So, after the trailer, the Couch Potato Podcast presents to you Tombstone.
From Hollywood Pictures,
I want your blood.
the Clanton gang figured they owned the town. But they never figured on Wyatt Earp and Doc Holliday.
Maybe you better swear me in.
Together, they brought justice to the West.
You tell them I'm coming! And hell's coming with me!
Tombstone, rated R.
All right, I am joined by my co-host, Adam, and I have a question for you, Adam.
Yeah.
This will be, I believe, our 135th episode that we put out. And
Very impressive.
yeah, not too bad. I read a statistic that normally podcasts don't last that long. And I know it's not because we have a huge fan base, so we just do it for the love of the game. But I am trying to figure out why it took us 135 tries at this to do Tombstone.
The answer escapes me. I've been trying to come up with a reason why, but maybe because it's turning 30. You know, that's a good reason as any.
When I was trying to come up with ideas for episodes to do after coming out of the very successful unconventional Christmas movie month back in December, which you could check out on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. The cheap plug of the episode. But I had just seen that this movie had turned 30 on Christmas Day. So I'm like, fuck, why should we not do Tombstone?
Right.
So here we are.
That's a good movie.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are doing Tombstone today, the 1993 Western classic. I know some people may not feel quite as strongly as I do, but this is a Western classic.
I agree.
I'll save my take on this for the hot take of the episode. But for those of you that do not know what Tombstone is about, I am going to tell you what the fuck Tombstone is about. Retired lawman Wyatt Earp's plans to retire anonymously in Tombstone, Arizona, are disrupted by the Cowboys, a gang of outlaws he was famous for eliminating. Sign me up.
Yep. I mean, that's as classic Western as you'll get.
Yep.
Real story.
I was going to save these for the did you know portion of it, but I think the behind the scenes making of this, how this movie got made, is just as fascinating as the movie itself. So I'm just going to go into that. Are you familiar with the turmoil that went on during Tombstone, how it was kind of a chore to get made?
I am not familiar with it, actually. I read a few things that were tumultuous, but nothing large.
All right. Well, this movie was supposed to be Kevin Jarre. He's a screenwriter. He's more famous for like doctoring scripts, touching like scripts that are good. He kind of polishes them to make them great. He wrote Glory. I think he did the Brendan Fraser Mummy, or some of the ones he's kind of notorious for writing. But this was supposed to be his directorial debut. And during pre-production, Kevin Costner was supposed to be involved. He was circling this. He wanted to do a Wyatt Earp movie. And in 91, Kevin Costner's probably one of the 2 or 3 biggest stars in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had just come off of winning an Oscar for Dances with Wolves. I believe he had just got done doing JFK, which nominated for a bunch of Oscars, and a movie that we need to do sometime on this show. That movie's fucking wild, and we'll save it for the episode. But yeah, JFK's got to happen at some point.
Oh, yeah.
But he was supposed to be in this, and I guess apparently he disagreed with the way the script was written. Because for those of you that have seen Tombstone, Tombstone is more of an ensemble piece where they kind of focus a little bit on a few characters. Costner was really more concerned with them concentrating on Wyatt Earp himself. So he left the project, and then turns out he did a Wyatt Earp movie himself. It came out, I believe it was 6 months after Tombstone. I think it was June of
94.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not a big fan of that one. It's just kind of it's too dry for my taste. So of course they get Kurt Russell. He gets involved, and it becomes apparent early in the production during filming that Kevin Jarre has no clue how to fucking make a movie. I guess he focused more on, like, he didn't really want to do like close-ups of the actors. He kind of wanted to make this very artistic style Western, so they shit-canned him. And the only shots I believe they used, I think they used some of the shots of the Earps getting off the train. He did all the stuff with Charlton Heston later in the movie, but that was about all he got done before they let him go. So the studio goes to Kurt Russell. They want him to finish the movie, directing the movie. And he kind of agrees to it, but he doesn't want to put his name on it. I think he kind of did it to not create jealousy amongst the cast. Like, oh, well, you're going to be in complete control of this now. So they hired, on the recommendation of Sylvester Stallone, George Cosmatos. He did Cobra. He did Rambo. I think he did Rambo First Blood Part 2, which, if Sylvester Stallone's to be believed, he kind of tends to tell tales from time to time. He kind of used him as a ghost director on those movies as well, which, if you've seen Cobra's kind of all over the place. So I can kind of buy it. So basically Cosmatos becomes like the ghost director, not really in charge, but he's kind of pretending to be. Kurt Russell spends a lot of his time and effort trying to create, I guess he does like a shot list for him to do the next day. He cuts his scenes down to not make it look like he's, going to be featured and everyone else got to take a back seat. So, they did this ghost director thing. And I guess Kurt Russell says later on, he tells Cosmatos, he goes, I'm not going to tell anybody this happens till after you're dead. And then a few years ago in a magazine, I think it's True West magazine, he kind of comes clean and says, yeah, I directed this. I gave him a shot list that the morning he had to follow that. He had hand cues if they want to do like another take of it. But yeah, he revealed that later on. And I guess Val Kilmer in an article confirmed that this was the case. So yeah, crazy stuff, man. Okay. Like, yeah, they fired a director. They get a ghost director to come in and do it. And basically Kurt Russell's directing this movie.
It turned out great though. So I think they made some good decisions.
Yeah, apparently the initial version of this was Kurt Russell described it as he wanted this to be the Godfather of Westerns.
I mean, I can see that.
And as cool as a concept as I think that is, I don't think we're doing this movie as an episode if it's like that.
Right.
Because revisiting this movie, it's very quotable. I don't know when did you see this for the first time?
I probably saw it for the first time on TV. It was probably on TNT or something like that, and I just caught. I think it was the middle of it, before the OK Corral scene. But after the fact, I went back and I got the DVD at some point, and I watched the entire thing through and through, and it's probably one of my favorite Westerns. I'm not a huge fan of Westerns. I don't know if I've ever talked about Westerns on the podcast, but
fun fact, this is the first Western we've done.
Yeah. If you don't count Star Wars as a Western.
Yeah, Star Wars is a space Western.
but it's like a whole Star Wars conglomeration too. It's not just the first one. But I don't like westerns. Like I can name on my hand how many westerns I like, and this is top of the list. I also like Maverick. If you want to count The Mask of Zorro, I love The Mask of Zorro as a western. But this is definitely top. And I mean, just for me catching it on TV and then having to go buy it afterwards, that's saying something.
I seen this for the first time. Pay-per-view was a kind of a new concept here in the old Springfield area. So we didn't really have access to it till well after it had become popular. And of course I was blown away, like, oh fuck, I can have a movie sent right to my house. This is awesome.
Yeah.
I don't have to go to the video store. So I got this and I taped it. I always used to tape the movies I got. Like, well, fuck, if I'm paying like $4 or whatever it was, I'm going to own this.
Yeah. Right.
And this movie became like, kind of like, I know like the 2000s, like the Judd Apatow comedies kind of became like famous and notorious for like how quotable they were. And like people were reciting lines left and right. To me, this is the first movie amongst my friends that we were quoting nonstop. I think we spent a whole summer that following year just quoting the shit out of this movie.
It's got some pretty quotable scenes in it for sure.
Totally quotable. I know for a fact a bunch of us used to convene at a swimming pool in the area, and one of our buddies used to say before they had like a diving board, and he would always quote to Johnny Ringo, like, I want your blood and I want your soul. And as he's jumping up, he goes, I want them both right now. And he just diving into the pool. And like, this makes no fucking sense. But the fact he quoted Johnny Ringo from Tombstone was super cool.
Yeah.
And I think that's why this movie is still, like, I think kind of become a cult classic, is due to the fact it's so quotable. And I've seen so many memes generated from this movie. I think the most popular one is when people like to announce they're leaving, like you see it all the time on like Facebook or Twitter, like, okay, I'm out of here, just announcing their departure. And the Curly Bill where he says, well, bye, very sarcastically and snarky, like that's become like an internet meme too. And fuck, it's almost 30 years later. So, and I think it's part of its legacy, just the fact that usually people are quoting comedies, and those are the movies that always seem to get the lines that are recycled in like pop culture. But like a Western is like completely out of the norm. And you said yourself too, and I think this has to do with generations. I think the older people seem to gravitate more towards the Westerns than like younger people. Like, see, I'm kind of like right in the middle. You're a little bit younger than I am. So Westerns were still kind of relevant in cinema versus like when you became a big movie fan, which I'm guessing is probably like 8, 9, 10, 11 years old. The Western was kind of dying out.
Yeah, it was probably 95 to 98 was when I started like going to the movies and watching a whole bunch.
Yeah, it seems to be like the era that you grow up in is kind of like the movies you kind of gravitate towards the most. And see, Westerns were still like a thing back in the 80s, not as big as they were in like the 20s to the 50s and 60s. But I mean, they were still there. Like Eastwood was making them. You'd see like the occasional one come out. And plus I used to watch them all the time with my grandfather. So that's kind of how I became a fan of them. But yeah, the fact that a Western is so quotable just still blows my mind to this day.
Yeah, the fact that a Western is so successful as Tombstone in the 90s was pretty cool too, I think.
Yeah, although I think it kind of got forgotten because it came out in Christmas of '93, and like I know I even researching this, Roger Ebert even mentions that he kind of felt responsible for not being a bigger champion of this movie.
Yeah,
but yeah, man, it's crazy. You said that you're not a fan of the Western genre. Is it like, I'm just curious, why is that?
I don't know. I've never been, and I don't think there's any correlation. Maybe there is a correlation. I don't know. I never liked country music either. I know the two go hand in hand sometimes. I don't think maybe there's a correlation there, but and my grandfather watched westerns all the time, and I mean, when growing up as a kid, like we did the cowboy thing as a kid. Like I liked playing around with toy guns and cowboy hats and stuff like that, but um I don't know. I guess it just didn't appeal to me movie wise. I never really liked that era of American history either. Um, it's just it never grew on me. I don't know what it is. I've never actually explored why I don't like it.
Well, we'll just devote a whole episode to it. We'll just give you like an essential list of Western movies. I am curious since it's, I think Tombstone and Unforgiven are pretty much like the last iconic Westerns to come out of Hollywood. I mean, like I know they did the Lonesome Dove series, which was super popular around this time. And then I guess you could say that Yellowstone is a modern Western. And
It is.
super popular right now, but I don't, even though it's a modern Western, I don't kind of classify it in the same terms as like the older movies. But like, what's your thoughts on Unforgiven?
It's on my list of movies I can name on one hand that I like.
Okay. Okay, good. As I was going to say, man, if you don't like Unforgiven, we might have to stop this episode now.
But yeah, it's far and few in between. Like you throw in John Wayne or certain Clint Eastwood movies, and I'm just like, all right, yeah, it's background noise, whatever, you know. But Tombstone's different. Like I'll sit and watch the entire thing. I'll get engrossed in it.
Yeah,
I don't know what it is.
I was never a John Wayne guy. Like there was a few of his that I liked. Like I liked El Dorado and The Searchers is really good, but I was more of an Eastwood guy because like I grew up like Pale Rider kind of came out when I was a kid. You know, I remember The Outlaw Josie Wales, and of course The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is one of my favorite Westerns of all time too. So plus they always play The Ecstasy of Gold before Metallica show. So like bonus points just for that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I like them. They kind of, it's the tale. A lot of times it's the tale of like, you know, they've taken like the stories, like they recreate them many times in many different scenarios, but just good versus, you know, good guy and a bad guy. It's very straightforward.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of why I like Unforgiven, because it kind of takes that simple good and evil, you know, just the line and they kind of blur them together, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I think most westerns are like defined good and evil too. You get the lawman, the good guy, or you know the straight arrow cowboy, and then you get the outlaw.
Well, that's how that's how a lot of times you can differentiate who is who. The good guy, the sheriff, you know, the stranger, it kind of comes in from, you know, with the mysterious past. He's always wearing white. And then the bad guy's trying to like steal the town, or he's trying to rob a bank, or he's trying to kill, like he always wore black. Yeah.
And I mean that not to make it nerdy or anything, but
just go ahead.
Nerd away. in my profession, hackers are either called white hat or black hat hackers for that reason. So
yeah, see, the cowboy tradition still lives on today.
Right.
And I mean, I kind of wish they would make more Westerns from time to time, because I really do enjoy them. But I think essentially now, excuse me, I had Raising Cane's earlier, and apparently it's not agreeing with me. But I think that's kind of what superhero movies have become to an extent. It's just like they're kind of, you know, they've kind of taken over the Western genre. Like, okay, you got your good guys, you got your bad guys, except instead of wearing white and black hats, they're wearing suits of armor, or they've got superpowers or something like that. Yeah.
And I think that it definitely follows the superhero genre a little bit, because I guess the popularity is kind of waning for the superhero genre now, just like back then the Western genre is waning in popularity.
Well, don't tell that to some of our friends. They're going to disagree with us and send us a bunch of hate mail. It's not dying. It's just as good as ever. The Marvels fucking rocked. Well, he wouldn't say fucking rocked. He would not use profanity at all, but I mean,
it did not rock.
But
that's besides the point, though. We're not doing a podcast on the Marvels,
right? No, absolutely, that will never happen. But no, I love Tombstone for this matter. You've got your good guys, you got your bad guys. It's very cut and dry, with the exception of Doc Holliday. He's an unsavory character who has but he's a good guy for the most part. He always helps the good guys. But I mean, this hits all the right notes for me. Just enough story to get by. Like, I'll be honest with you. I've always said on this show that I always say that films are works of art. You appreciate everything that goes into it, whether it's, the production design, costume design, the dialogue, the direction, the cinematography, everything. Like, I always consider, like, when you're looking at it from that point of view, it's a film. You're looking at it from an artistic standpoint. But then there's movies where you don't really think about what's going on. You're not trying to really appreciate that. You just kind of get engrossed in, like, somebody will say something that catches your ear. You'll see something that catches your eye, and like, okay, I want to see what happens next.
Yeah.
And you don't really, like, sometimes you just kind of don't really pay attention to, like, thousands of plot holes, or like, this story makes no sense, or it's just not very good. But man, like, this guy who's got tuberculosis, it's coughing up blood, but man, I'm just so drawn to him because he smokes his cigarette so cool. He just delivers these lines that, like, you don't expect to hear out of a Western. And then it's just like a bunch of, like, it's just ruthless fucking killing throughout this too. Like, I still don't understand why once, Wyatt Earp comes back to Tombstone, why he's really no better than the Cowboys. He's just fucking killing them all.
Yeah.
He's not really a lawman per se.
He hides behind his badge at that point. He's like, yeah, I'm a U.S. Marshal, so I can kill whoever I want.
It's legal for me to do this. Just don't get any ideas, gang. We're not advocating for that to come back into society. But yeah, man, Tombstone, this hits all the right notes for me. Just a straight up, it kind of blends a lot of the late 90s, early 2000 comedies, and just in terms of, like, the quotable lines. I think in terms of, for me, favorite line from this movie, this is probably the hardest one I've ever had to come up with because there's so much.
I have a few, but I narrowed it down.
Yeah, and on top of that, like, incredible cast of performers in this. Like, it's pretty much a who's who from Hollywood back then.
Oh yeah,
I mean, there's so many recognizable faces in this.
I mean, the first time I saw this is like on TV. I was just enamored with how many people they got.
Yeah, we'll get into some of the cast here, and actually, we'll just do it right now with the tail of the tape. What do you say?
Okay. Sure.
Tail of the tape. This was released on December the 25th, 1993. This stars Kurt Russell, Val Kilmer, Powers Booth, Michael Biehn, Dana Delaney, Sam Elliott, Bill Paxton, Stephen Lang, and I can go on and on and on. Tons of people that were not really famous at the time go on to bigger and better careers. I noticed that Thomas Hayden Church is in this.
Mm-hmm. Yes, he is.
Real young Thomas Hayden Church. John Corbett, people might recognize him from Sex and the City. He was on a show called Northern Exposure back in the early 90s. Awesome, quirky Alaskan comedy. And I think he's in My Big Fat Greek Wedding too.
Yeah.
Jason Priestley, who I think at the time, Beverly Hills 90210 was on when this movie came out too. So he's kind of like a big teen heartthrob. See, I'm trying to think who else is in this. Billy Bob Thornton. How can I forget Billy Bob Thornton? He has a small role in this too. It's got Robert Mitchum. The iconic Robert Mitchum is the narrator in this. Charlton Heston
Mm-hmm.
is in this. Michael Rooker.
Yeah. Billy Zane.
Yeah, Billy Zane
Yeah.
is in this too. I believe the actress's
The
name is Paula Malcolmson. She was in Deadwood with Powers Booth.
mm-hmm.
She's in this too. I mean, you may not recognize the name, but I'm sure you see the face. She plays
Yeah.
Sam Elliott's wife. And it's just a ton of people. Fucking cast is extremely
Oh, yeah.
loaded. And we'll get into
The mayor is Terry O'Quinn, who people might recognize as John Locke from Lost.
Oh yeah, fuck! I forgot all about Terry O'Quinn is in this. John Tenney's in this too. Like I don't really
Mhm.
remember him in too much of anything. I think he was married to Terry Hatcher at one point though.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean just tons and tons of people. It's like it's almost like Kurt Russell just called in a bunch of favors from his friends.
Yeah.
It's like, hey man, you mind coming in and doing a bit for Tombstone?
It's the Ocean's 11 of Westerns.
Oh, dude, totally. Totally the Ocean's 11. Like, let's just get a bunch of people, pay them like scale, have them come in, shoot for a couple of days, and then send them on their way.
Think we need one more?
I think we need one more.
One more.
We need one more.
I need one more.
This was directed by George P. Cosmatos, which we have established in name only. This was really directed by Kurt Russell. Rotten Tomatoes score of 73% from critics and a 94% audience score. The consensus was, if you're seeking a stylish modern Western with a solid story and a well-chosen ensemble cast, Tombstone is your huckleberry. And I like what you did there, Rotten Tomatoes. The box office for this, budget of $25 million, made $73.2 million. A modest hit, not like a blockbuster by any stretch, but like I said, I think this movie has kind of gained cult status over the years. This would be what I'd consider to be a cult classic. It's kind of become more popular through home video and streaming and numerous airings on TNT and TBS over the years. This did not win any awards, and you can currently stream this on Hulu and Paramount Plus. So you have your choice of two streamers to check this out on.
Okay.
Did you know a lot of my stuff I spoke about early in the movie? A lot of it's regarding the tumultuous production where Kevin Costner was originally supposed to play Wyatt Earp. Didn't like the direction the script was going, so he left. I did, though, I guess apparently he was using his clout to block most major studios from producing this. Buena Vista, which is I think the adult arm of Disney, or as you and I know from a certain vendor that used to come into Best Buy, Buena Vista. That's an inside joke with me and Adam. One of these days we'll share it, but I don't want it. I don't want to, in case he's listening, I don't want to, I don't want him getting like pissed off and sending me hate mail, but people that know Adam and I know who we're talking about. But apparently Buena Vista was the only production company that would greenlight this.
Okay.
Because Costner was just like, giving out, just using like all of his call, like, hey, Paramount, don't make this. Warner, don't make this. Buena Vista agreed, though, under the condition they had some conditions they wanted. One was originally Willem Dafoe was the choice to play Doc Holliday, but Buena Vista said, if you cast Willem Dafoe, we're not producing this movie. Which I don't know if have you ever seen The Last Temptation of Christ? It's a Scorsese movie with that movie's still kind of fresh in people's minds. So Disney didn't want any part of that controversy, because when that movie came out, that was a very controversial movie. I don't remember exactly. I would imagine it's just the portrayal of Jesus in that. But very controversial film when it came out, and they wanted no part of Willem Dafoe. So we got Val Kilmer instead. He was the second choice, and I don't know. I'm a Willem Dafoe fan. Really enjoy his work, but there's no way he tops Kilmer's Doc Holliday in this.
Now, I'm not a huge fan of Val Kilmer in a lot of movies, but probably because I did grow up in that, mid 90s time, and I saw Batman Forever, and he's extremely dry in that.
Yeah.
But he is the best part of Tombstone. Like, he is my favorite character, bar none. He's what makes this movie great. I love Kurt Russell. He's one of my favorite actors of all time, but Val Kilmer steals the show.
Well, I think what they did with this movie is what a lot of casting directors should have done is, for some reason, they tried to make Val Kilmer like the next big star. And I get it. I mean, he's an extremely handsome man, good actor, but he's not really what I would say is a leading man.
Yeah.
If you think about like his best performances or the movies he's most remembered for, like he played Iceman in Top Gun. He played Doc Holliday in Tombstone. He plays Chris in Heat. He's the guy. It's not the actor that carries the movie. He's the guy that like you kind of bring in to like kind of be like the third lead of the movie. He's not the featured performer. It's not who you build the movie around. But man, you need somebody like to give you like 20 memorable moments in a movie or 20 memorable minutes. Val Kilmer's your guy.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
And I think that's what makes this movie work so well is like Kurt Russell got to do what Kurt Russell does. He's the leading man. He's the one that gets all like the good, like does the heavy lifting. And then you've got Val Kilmer to come in, just be the heat check guy, basically. Okay, I'm going to make my time on screen count. So you're going to remember me. And that's what Val Kilmer does best.
Mm-hmm. It also helps that they make him the sweatiest person alive because of his tuberculosis.
That's I don't know if you had that in your facts, but I did find an interesting read about that.
No, it's not in my facts, so that'll be good.
At one point, Liam Neeson, or as a former coworker once said, Liam Nillison, had been considered for Wyatt Earp and David Bowie. Yes,
oh God.
Same David Bowie, rock star David Bowie, was considered for Doc Holliday, and Tommy Lee Jones was discussed for the role of Curly Bill. I could see that working. Tommy Lee Jones.
Yeah, I don't like all those other castings, so
no,
we can leave those behind.
But I do like Tommy Lee Jones. He's one of my favorite character actors, but I really dig Powers Booth because Powers Booth is just doing Powers Booth. Anytime you see him in a movie, he dials it up to 12. Like we need you at a 7, but you're at like a 13. Can you dial that down a little bit? And then he's just going to tell you like, no, my knob only goes to 13. It does not go down. And I think that's why I am a huge fan of the incomparable Powers Booth. God rest his soul. Let's see. Another fun casting fact that Mickey Rourke turned down the role of Johnny Ringo.
Okay.
Which I don't get, because in 93 Mickey Rourke wasn't exactly setting the world on fire either.
No.
I mean, we're not doing Harley Davidson and the Marlboro Man on this show. We're doing Tombstone.
Right.
Which I can't remember outside of I think that's like outside of the stuff he did in the 80s. I think that's the only thing I remember him in up until like he had that little mini comeback run with like Sin City and The Wrestler and Iron Man 2, and then he kind of fell back to being Mickey Rourke, the actor that nobody remembers. He's not listening, so I don't care.
No.
Let's see what else I got here. Like a lot of stuff I have is kind of mixed in with stuff we touched on at the beginning, so bear with me, gang. George Cosmatos claimed that Stephen Lang, who plays Ike Clanton in this movie, was drunk during most of the filming. which after I read that and I watched the movie, I could totally see it.
Oh yeah.
Because there's some stuff
Yeah,
that's like, no sober man's delivering that. And then let's see what else I got here. Let me find. Oh, Robert Mitchum. I thought this was a really cool bit of casting news. Robert Mitchum was supposed to play Old Man Clinton, which they eventually just cut that role out altogether because I don't remember him being in the movie. I just remember him being mentioned. Was supposed to play Old Man Clinton, but had to drop out due to a horseback riding injury. So he ends up being the narrator, and you hear his narration at the beginning of the movie and at the end of the movie, which the narration at the end cracks me up. I watched it last night. I was fucking laughing for 5 minutes. Like, he basically, at the end of it, he goes from talking about Wyatt and Josephine have this storybook ending, and then like just deadpan, no like emotion, like, oh, I'm glad to see that these two kind of fell in love and they spent the rest of their lives together. And he just immediately in the same tone, his wife, Natty, died of, like, he said, Natty died of a drug overdose in 19. Same tone.
Oh my goodness.
I was like, man, Robert Mitchum does not give a fuck. And that's why he's the GOAT. He's one of the GOATs. The real Wyatt Earp was a consultant on Hollywood Westerns after moving to the city in 1915.
Okay.
And the last bit that I have is the sanatorium scene, which is near the end of the movie, where after Doc and Wyatt and two of the coolest nicknames in the history of movies, Turkey Creek Johnson and Texas Jack Vermillion.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to start calling my son Texas Jack starting tomorrow. But after they vanquished the Cowboys, and Doc he goes to this sanatorium to die. He looks very sweaty and uncomfortable as he's meeting his demise. Well, I guess he had went to the production team, the art department, and he requested that they line his bed with ice to make him look uncomfortable during that final sequence with Kurt Russell.
Okay. Yeah, I can see it.
But that's all I've got, because like most of my stuff was in the beginning of the movie. Adam, do you have any cool facts to share with the boys and girls?
I do. A couple of them. You touched on a few of mine, but I got a few, I guess, historical facts. Like the line "You're a daisy if you do" was actually taken from real news reports. That was what he had actually said right before the OK Corral shootout. And the, I guess, real Wyatt Earp's cousin, fifth cousin, was in the movie, played Billy Claiborne. His name is Glenn Wyatt Earp. Thought that was pretty cool. And Billy Bob Thornton actually improvised most of his lines in the scene with Kurt Russell, which I think is pretty cool. Going back and watching that over again, you can kind of tell it plays a little bit better than just being written. But
we're touching on Billy Bob. He's coming up.
Yeah. But you definitely touched on a lot of mine. But those are the facts that I had. Oh, one more. Totally forgot about this one because we were talking about it before the recording. But all of the actors' facial hair is real. They had the actors grow it specifically for their characters. So those fine mustaches and goatees are all real.
Well, I'll add a piece at the end of that. John Tenney's mustache isn't real. He's the only one.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But you know what? No one likes Sheriff Bayhan anyway, so fuck him. I don't care if he could grow a mustache or not. Our Martin Scorsese Award, This is Cinema, for the best scene of the movie. This was pretty tough for me. I kind of had a couple But I chose the Doc Holliday Johnny Ringo showdown near the end of the movie.
That one's pretty good.
Just because of the interaction that they had when they first meet, kind of a couple of gunslingers, just kind of, it's basically a dick measuring contest. And they start spouting off Latin, which I seen the Latin translation in research, and none of it makes any sense. Like what they're saying.
Yeah. No, I mean, no, not really.
Yeah, like
some of it does, and then some of it doesn't.
Yeah, like let's just keep the Latin part of it. Don't look it up on Google, because then you might be a little disappointed. So just keep it with that. But you're kind of waiting for these two to have a showdown.
Yeah.
And like every time I see it, like when Wyatt and him are having a conversation, when he's in the bed at I can't think of Heston's character off the top of my head, but when they're at Heston's house and Doc is sick, he can't help him out, and then Wyatt says like, "I can't win, can I?" And I'm like, man, fuck. The first time I seen it, like, fuck, Doc's got to get up and help him out, because Johnny Ringo would have killed Wyatt for sure.
Oh yeah.
But then, like, that scene where Johnny Ringo's just totally surprised. Like, he's like, I can't believe you. He goes, well, you showed up. And then all of a sudden, like, Val Kilmer, just looking like the coolest fucking guy on earth, kind of walks out of the shadows. That cigarette smoke was very heavy. It looked like his coat was on fire.
Yeah.
A lot of smoke.
Oh yeah.
I don't know how cigarettes were made during that time frame, but that was a lot of fucking smoke. But yeah, just that showdown was so cool.
Yeah.
And he just like shoots him in the fucking head. And I don't understand the point of him telling him to come on.
Yeah. No.
I don't get it, but it's still fucking cool.
Goading him into death, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I was like. That's what I was thinking. It was like, okay, just hurry up and die. Come on. You're done. Come on. And then he basically tells him he's too high strung. After he just kind of pats him on his chest, because he tells him he's like, they're kind of the same, but he's more high strung, so he wasn't going to win. So fucking cool. I been fooling around with our TikTok a little bit, and my son has been helping me edit videos to put on there, and that was the clip I used was just the whole, well, I didn't think you'd show. Then he comes out and says, I'm your Huckleberry.
Oh yeah.
Just like, and then it cuts right into that. It's like, just that whole fucking scene is like pretty much what you wait for the entire movie.
Yeah. Yeah. That's my favorite scene as well. Like, you can't beat that one. But I really do like him and Ringo meeting, and the Latin's pretty cool.
As long as you don't try to translate it.
Right. But I also like the pistol spinning contest that they have. Because it's just so funny. And Val Kilmer just completely shows him up in that scene, and it's really good. So that's my honorable mention. But the OK Corral scene is pretty cool too. But yeah, it's got to be one of those two scenes, and it's definitely the last scene.
Bonus points, just because I always want to do this as a Christmas card. During the end credits, it's basically, for most of it, it's just Virgil, Morgan, Wyatt, and Doc walking to the OK Corral with the fucking score playing in the background. And I kind of want to do that as a Christmas card at some point. If I can get the family on board, I want to try it.
And that would be good.
Fake mustaches and all.
Yeah. The hats, the guns.
Yeah. All of it. Just to have like Merry Christmas. Send it to everybody. It'll never happen, so don't get your hopes up. But yeah, I mean, I think for me, it was just the Johnny Ringo Doc showdown. I also really enjoyed like the battle at the creek, where Kurt Russell just says, fuck it, I'm going out here with people shooting at me, yelling no. And that's where him and Curly Bill have their showdown. and he ends up killing Curly Bill. I do dig that scene too, because like he is so hell bent on revenge against the Cowboys. He's just like, you know what, fuck it. I'm gonna walk on water. I'm gonna kill as many of these fucking people as I can.
I really like that scene, but it kind of takes me out of the movie just a little bit, knowing that all of those like hardened outlaws can't hit the guy and he's out of cover. It's not believable.
Well, it's villain shooting school. Like the worse you are, the more likely you're going to get cast. Like, can you hit that target? Nope.
Yeah.
You're about 10 meters to the left. Hired.
Yeah. It's Kurt Russell's plot armor.
Yep.
Got on.
Or it's just that slick mustache. It's just deflecting everything. The Andy Dufresne Get Busy Living or Get Busy Dying Award for the best or most quotable line of the movie. I think it's pretty obvious what this should be, but I'm kind of curious to see if there's anything else that you had outside of this. Because this, like I said at the offshoot, this movie has so many quotable lines, it's not even funny.
Yeah. And it's all Val Kilmer too.
Yeah.
I really like You're a Daisy If You Do, because it's actually like something Doc Holliday really said, which is pretty cool. But we all know that it's going to be I'm Your Huckleberry. I mean, that's going to be the line. But he says so many things like, well, why don't we try a spelling contest?
Oh, dude, that's...
He's just so, I don't know the good word for it. He's snarky and sarcastic, and I love it. And I think it's because like he knows he's dying, so he just doesn't give a shit.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of it. Just the fact, like, hey, you know what? I'm going to be me because I don't have much longer to live. So why try to be somebody I'm not?
Speaking of which, I do like it's a very deep line, and it's not like one of his funny lines, but it's at the end when he's talking to Wyatt, and he's like, "There is no normal life. There's just life. So go and live it." Pretty deep. It's a good line, but it's not as memorable because it's not funny. But I think it's a good line. And then what is it? It's not revenge. He's after. It's a reckoning. I love that line. It's so cool.
Yeah.
So badass.
Yeah, my choice was I'm Your Huckleberry. I think it's simply because like people have not even seen Tombstone know that line. It's like a movie line.
Yeah.
But I know some of his other ones I really enjoyed is when it's right before he gets sick. It's like right after the creek scene. And Turkey asks him, like, why is he out there? And he says, why, it's my friend. And then Turkey responds back, he goes, well, hell, I've got lots of friends. And then Doc just kind of looks to the side. He goes, I don't.
Yeah.
And I think just that line right there, I really think that they try to shoehorn the Wyatt Earp, Josephine love story into this. And I don't want this to be taken the wrong way, but I think the real love story of this movie is the relationship between Wyatt and Doc.
Yeah.
Because I think,
for sure.
I think that they're more, at least how it's shown in the movie, that they're more like brothers than Virgil and Morgan are to Wyatt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because even when they reunite in Tombstone, he goes, how the hell are you? And that's a greeting to somebody like you, like, all right, you just made my day because I seen you. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think, just that piece of dialogue right there, like, really sums up the relationship between the two of them. So I dig that one. I also like when Thomas Hayden Church is basically like telling Doc, they're like, you're not going to do anything. You're drunk. And he pulls out his other pistol. He goes, I got 2 guns, one for each of you.
I love that one.
And he just pulls the gun out so smooth too. He goes, I got 2 of them, one for each of you. And I'm just like,
I forget what the line is, but when he's drunk and they're telling him that he needs to go to bed, and he says, I haven't even begun to forget the line. It's so good though.
Yeah, he's got some.
The listeners aren't going to believe me that it's a good line because I don't remember it, but it's fine. It is a good line. Watch the movie. It's a good
Just
line.
trust us. Yeah, just watch it on Paramount Plus and Hulu. You'll know what he's talking about. I know we don't normally use this category often, but it made it a comeback in last week's Die Hard 2 episode.
Mm-hmm.
The Paul Walker, I Said Forget About It, award for the most unintentionally hilarious or bad line of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that these are meant to be as delivered in a comedic way, but pretty much the entire Billy Bob Thornton scene is fucking hysterical, and it still gets me. My personal favorite of his is when he's telling that guy, goes, "You back that queen up again, you son of a bitch. I'll blow you right up that wildcat's ass." And I screenshotted, because I didn't want to write all of them down, but I took some screenshots of some of his other lines from the movie, thanks to our friends at IMDb. Just that whole scene has so many like real funny quotable lines. He says, and I quote, "Christ almighty, it's like I'm sitting here playing cards with my brother's kids or something, you nerve-wracking sons of bitches." Let's see. In this scene, he doesn't say it, but Wyatt Earp says it. He goes, "Go ahead, skin it. Skin that smoke wagon and see what happens." I think that skin that smoke wagon got a little bit of play amongst my circle of friends for a little bit too, but not for the reasons pulling out a literal pistol, if you catch my drift. He says, he goes, "Well, for a man that don't go healed, you sure do run your mouth kind of reckless." And then Wyatt says, "No need to go healed to get the bulge on a tub like you." And then, yeah, of course, the one I said, the wildcat's ass line. That's
yeah.
It's not meant to be funny. I think it's meant to get a chuckle, but the way Billy Bob delivers it totally makes it unintentionally hilarious. And plus, Billy Bob Thornton, this is Husky Billy Bob Thornton.
Yeah.
I didn't recognize him until probably, it might have been 10 years ago watching this. I looked, it's like, is that fucking Billy Bob Thornton? Because I'm accustomed to seeing him looking like he hasn't eaten in like 3 weeks, and he's just been living off a diet of booze.
Yeah.
He's always like usually like real rail thin, skinny, and kind of gaunt looking. My wife thinks he's like just the hottest fucking dude walking on the face of the earth. So,
really?
Yeah. Well, she's not doing. I know a ton of women that find Billy Bob Thornton extremely attractive.
I was gonna say, are you talking about hot as in temperature because those eyebrows are making him sweat?
No, it's hot as in like if he were sitting right in front of me, I don't know how I would react.
I don't think so. But all right, I'm not sexually attracted to men, and I am not your wife, so I cannot speak for her. All right.
Well, maybe we'll have her come on do a rebuttal at some point when we do another Billy Bob Thornton movie.
Okay.
Which the list is not super long. It's Bad Santa and Armageddon. That'd be about it. Maybe Sling Blade. But yeah, I didn't recognize him with a little bit of the girth on him.
Right.
But yeah, everything he says is just, I get, it pops me every time. His whole fucking scene in the movie.
I really like that scene. Like even, it's not an unintentionally bad or anything, but I really like Kurt Russell's. I guess he's just standing there degrading him. He's like, "Are you going to do something, or are you just going to stand there and bleed?" Like, I love that. I love that line.
I will give an honorable mention to. This is, I think, kind of a bad line. I've always kind of cringed whenever somebody yells, like, and I think it's just because it's been overused so much when somebody does that, "No."
Yeah.
In Revenge of the Sith, I do it. It's just like, I'm like, oh, that's nails across the chalkboard. but when he's walking in the creek and he's saying it,
Mhm.
no, and he's like
Yeah.
blowing people
And-
away. I'm like, that's kind of cringy.
Yeah. No, see, I also don't like the stereotypical giddy up in cowboy movies. It seems like to me, every time somebody says giddy up, they always say it in a weird way. Like it's not the regular giddy up. It's like, yeah, like that doesn't even sound, it sounds like a noise they're making.
Yeah. Well, I say giddy up a lot too in my normal speech,
Yeah.
but I've stolen that from Cosmo Kramer from Seinfeld.
See, it's fine in normal speech because but like when you're trying to be a gruff cowboy and you're saying it as a noise, it doesn't come off right.
Yeah. I've always been more parts of yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Do you have any unintentionally hilarious lines that we haven't spoken on yet?
No, not really. Just a honorable mention of one that always gets me to laugh though is when they're standing there talking after they meet up with Doc Holliday, and he's like, "Oh, I forgot you were standing there.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry about that. Can I have that shot?"
Oh, yeah,
Like-
and he lays it on the ground. Yeah, that's pretty cool too.
Yeah.
As we said that the best line of the movie was extremely difficult. This next award, the McLovin for best supporting or scene-stealing performance, was also extremely tough. Can't give it to Val Kilmer. He's in the movie too much. If we could,
Right.
by far the obvious winner, but he's in the movie too much. So I have 3 contenders.
Okay.
Billy Bob Thornton as Johnny Tyler, the Faro dealer. We already kind of talked about him a little bit, how he basically like kills it in that brief appearance on screen. Geez, I don't know what's up with Raising Cane's tonight, but man, it's fucking me up a little bit. I apologize for all the hiccups in the episode. I also nominated Michael Biehn as Johnny Ringo.
Okay.
I thought he was an awesome villain, great antagonist to Wyatt Earp and Doc Holliday. And then I also have Stephen Lang as Ike Clanton because he plays the slimy piece of shit perfectly in this.
Yeah.
He talks
He
tough
does.
when he's got his cowboys with him, but when it's just him or he's in a situation where he knows he's not going to win, he becomes a coward.
Yeah.
And plus,
Yeah. And he plays
apparently
that
he's
really well.
drunk. And if you know,
Just give it to him because he was able to do it drunk.
yeah, and if you know Stephen Lang from his performances now, he was, I forget the character's name because I haven't seen it in such a long time, but he was basically the best thing about Avatar.
Yeah.
He's the general or the captain or the sergeant.
Mm-hmm.
And he was also in a horror movie called Don't Breathe, which surprisingly I found to be very enjoyable. He plays a blind man and these kids break into his house. And just like any of us, blind or can see, 2020, you're not having people in your house uninvited. I'll fuck some people up too. So I don't blame him. But he's kind of been typecast recently as like kind of a tough guy. So for him to play kind of a coward is kind of a cool bit of playing against type. But those are my 3 contenders. I mean, there's a lot to choose from. I like the brief bit of time we get with Michael Rooker, who's also kind of playing against type.
Yeah.
Because for me, I feel like if they were to cast this movie, if you took Michael Rooker from today and Michael Biehn from like 86 through 90, Rooker would play Johnny Ringo and Biehn would play McMasters. But I don't know. Do you have anybody you want to nominate before we get into this?
Not really. I was in this last watch through. I forgot that Charlton Heston was in it. I was like, oh, maybe he could be a good candidate for this category, but no, he's really forgettable.
Yeah, the only thing I remember him, he with that mustache, he looks like that Muppets character Sam the Eagle.
Oh yeah, he does, doesn't he?
It's like when he's showing from the side, He's just kind of like got a scowl on his face, and his mustache is kind of protruding. He looks like Sam the Eagle from the Muppets. I think that's a Muppet character, isn't it?
Yeah.
The Blue Eagle?
Yeah, it's
okay.
The Blue Eagle. Yeah, he's like super patriotic and yeah. I'm good with giving it to Stephen Lang. I don't have anybody that you didn't mention. I do think that I don't know. It's probably just because knowing that he played it drunk is just so impressive to me.
Yeah, and it's really close between him and Michael Biehn because they're both kind of playing against type, especially like I said, Stephen Lang playing against type later.
Yeah.
And then at this point, Michael Biehn is going into this. He's kind of known as Kyle Reese in Terminator, and he's been the hero in Aliens and all the James Cameron stuff. I think he's probably the perfect antagonist to Doc Holliday. He's like, if you don't know the history of Wyatt Earp, you kind of can feel like maybe he's going to kill Wyatt Earp, or he might be able to take Doc Holliday out. But I have to give it to Stephen Lang though, just because like every time he's on screen, you just want something bad to happen to him.
Right. Yeah.
Like I usually with villains, I get wrapped up in the performance. It really takes a special performer for me to like, you're supposed to hate him and you actually make me hate you. Like I can't wait to see something bad happen to you. That's a pretty good talent. So I have to give it to Stephen Lang too.
Yeah. I'll contend that Johnny Ringo is in the movie too much. He's too much of a main antagonist. He's not the only antagonist, but that's another point for Stephen Lang, I think.
Well, I guess it really depends on how you view the movie because, I mean, Johnny Ringo is kind of like, it feels like he's the big boss, but Curly Bill seems to be like the leader of the Cowboys up until he gets killed. Yeah. So right. I've kind of looked at him as more the main, he's the main villain who kind of gets the wheels in motion, and like his leadership is kind of, because when he kills Fred in the middle of the street, that kind of sets off this whole chain of events instead of just kind of like, okay, maybe we shouldn't fuck with this town anymore. Instead, they do the exact opposite. Like, oh, you're going to lock me up? I'm going to fucking kill you guys now. And then they do it. So I kind of always looked to him as like Wyatt and Curly Bill are kind of like the opposite sides of the coin, and then Johnny Ringo and Doc Holliday are the same.
Holliday. Yeah.
It's like if this is WrestleMania season, you're leading up to a Curly Bill versus Wyatt Earp match and then a Johnny Ringo versus Doc Holliday match, which you end up getting in the movie.
Right.
So I
think that probably solidifies my stance that he's too important then, I think.
Well, either way, we're giving it to Stephen Lang. So, I mean.
Right.
But
I don't know why I'm arguing for something that, we're doing anyways, but,
Well, hey, you gave us a talking point, so.
We did, yeah.
Welcome to Dumpsville Population U for the performer you'd recast. Not really anybody I can think of on the top of my head to take out of this. I mean, everyone's pretty much really good in the limited time that they have. No unsolved mysteries. They kind of wrap it up at the end with Robert Mitchum's heartless narration at the end.
Yeah, that's true. And plus it's based off of a true story too, so you kind of get the gist.
And there's also no insert the most. Was this the 1890s?
Yeah.
Moment of the movie. I guess the whole fucking movie. There's no telephones. There's no automobiles. They're on horseback.
The saloons.
The saloons.
The poker.
Yeah. Well, poker's not really the main card game. Seems like it's Faro, and I don't even know what the hell that is.
Mm.
I don't ever see it
Yeah.
at casinos anymore. So if someone can tell me what Faro is, I'd love to hear about it. Is it still a card game that's played today? I don't think so because I don't visit casinos often, but I
Yeah.
don't think that there's a Faro table. But apparently it's very lucrative because the Earps were fucking making a killing
Yeah.
dealing with Faro before, the unfortunate events of this movie. All right. Our next category is the hot off the skillet takes presented to you by Applebee's. If you want to eat good in the neighborhood, I highly encourage you to check out Applebee's. They've got tons of different menu items to choose from. You're vegan, you like chicken. They've got the Dollarita specials that you can catch now and again. You want to get drunk on the cheap. They got appetizers half off after 10 p.m. Applebee's is the place to go. And that's also where you're going to find our hottest takes of the movie. Adam, you have a hot take regarding Tombstone?
It's probably a hot take to somebody, but it's probably not a hot take to either of us. I think that Tombstone is the best, if not one of the best, Western movies of all time.
Okay. I think with our demographic, it's probably not that hot of a take because Westerns are really not per se a hot movie idea anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if you were to go older generations, which I don't think we have anybody over the age of 50 that even listens to us, with the exception of a couple people that have been on the show from time to time. So yeah, I don't know if that's really a hot take, just because like anyone born in the 80s or 90s, this is probably, if they ever watch a Western, most likely this is the one they're going to. And I think it has a lot to do with it being so quotable.
Yeah. But you still get the Westerns of of old, you're going to have some demographics say that if it doesn't have John Wayne in it, it's not one of the best Western movies of all time.
Right. Yeah. I just think for unless you're a film nerd, you might go something like The Searchers. Like if it were you and I don't think Tombstone is I wouldn't put it as the greatest Western of all time. To me, it's probably top 5. It's in my top 5 for sure, but I don't know if I could put it above Unforgiven. I don't think I can put it ahead of The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. But I think after those two, for sure has a case. Maybe Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, I'd maybe put ahead of it. But outside of those three, but anyone like in your age or younger, I would be shocked if any of them have even seen Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, which if you haven't, please go watch that.
I have.
I know you
I've
have,
seen Butch Cassidy,
but you're a movie nerd like I am. If you have not seen Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, please do yourself a favor and go watch it right now. It's a fucking awesome movie. After you listen to this episode and watch Tombstone. And same with The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. I mean, it's kind of an iconic Western, but I don't think a lot of like casual movie fans under the age of 40 are really going to remember it or have even heard of it.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, Tombstone is like still easily in my top 5. I probably maybe, now that I think about it, probably slides into the number 4 spot.
Okay.
Then Outlaw Josie Wells would probably be number 5.
See, the more I think about it, the more my take is hot.
But I'm also a movie nerd. I am not like in the demographic that I'm talking about too. My hot take is, as I have said, even in this episode, that I look at movies or the motion picture industry as like there's films and there's movies. And like I said, Unforgiven, it's probably my favorite Western. I think it's the best Western film of all time. It does so many things well. It creates a mood that I have not seen in a Western before. But if I'm flipping through the channels and if HBO has Unforgiven and Stars has Tombstone on. They're coming on at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And I see that. I am 99% sure I'm going to turn it to Stars to watch Tombstone.
Yeah.
I think Tombstone is probably one of the most rewatchable movies of the last 30 years.
For sure.
It's such a fun movie. And I don't even think that's really a hot take now that I think about it. But yeah, I think if I'm choosing, because I mean, a lot of people like that are in our fandom of movies probably consider Unforgiven to be the greatest Western of all time. If not the greatest, probably top 2 or 3. But yeah, I mean, if I'm choosing between the two, I'm probably 99% of the time going to choose Tombstone. Because Unforgiven, you have to be in a mood to watch that, just because it's incredibly dark.
Yeah.
Whereas Tombstone is like, okay, it's kind of a mindless, fun 2-hour action Western. I don't have to think about it. I can shut my brain off like, okay, I know these are the good guys. The bad guys have done them wrong, and the good guys want revenge. Boom. All right. And you're off.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's a hot take or not. I really can't think of anything because, like, to me, flaws in all this movie is pretty damn awesome. And the more you watch it, the more you can pick up, like, what they do good and what they do bad. But, I mean, this is a fucking awesome movie.
It is. It is a really great movie. It's one of those rare Westerns that, cracks my, adversity towards Westerns. Like I'll watch, like I said, this, Unforgiven. I really like Maverick. I don't know why.
Maverick's good. I enjoy the hell out of Maverick. That's really good. One of the last great Mel Gibson movies too.
Yeah. And, like I said, Massive Sorrow for a different kind of Western feel. Love that movie. I even like TV wise, I even like The Adventures of Briscoe County Jr. So I don't know what my adversity is with Westerns. It just does not cross my radar every time I turn on Netflix or whatever, and I'm like looking for something to watch. I'm not looking for a Western.
It's probably the most divisive mainstream like movie genre in film is the Western. I don't know anybody that, because I mean, even like romantic comedies as an example, it's not really my cup of tea, but there's ones out there that I can appreciate. Like I've always felt Sleepless in Seattle is a fantastic movie. It really is. It's a really good movie. And there's other ones I can, if I catch it on, like, okay, I can watch this. I'll be okay watching this. And, like some people don't like dramas, some people, but they'll find ones they like. Like for Western though, it's either, I have not met anybody that thinks like, there's some Westerns that are okay. Western, it's like either, oh yeah, I love Westerns, or no, I can't stand them. Too boring.
Yeah. And some of them, like some of the more divisive genres are try to hide themselves in the more mainstream ones. Like you got, if you're talking mainstream, you have drama and then you have comedy. Those are the big mainstream genres, which comedy has been dying out for a while. We don't get any low budget movies that are comedy anymore, but
they're all going to streamers now.
Right. But they hide themselves in those two genres pretty well when somebody's trying to make a movie and make it more palatable for people. So I think that, that's probably one of the cases for Tombstone. It's got drama in it, but it's also got elements of action in it. So maybe that's why I like it. I don't know.
Well, I think for me, if they send me to like a remote island, they're going to give me a TV and a DVD, Blu-ray player, 4K Blu-ray, whatever. And I had to pick a movie, a movie from each genre of like horror, Western, action, whatever. I think I'm probably taking Tombstone as my Western pick.
Yeah.
Because it's like the Western that I can watch over and over and over and over again. I've probably seen this movie 30, 40 times easily. Just because like I said, it's always been on TV and you always catch like a piece of it here or there or whatever. But yeah, those are our hottest takes. They might be lukewarm today. They might have been sitting on it. Like you might have ordered this from Bob Evans or Applebee's, but don't expect that quality of service from Applebee's. The minute your order comes off that skillet, it's getting run right to your table. Don't ever expect to get lukewarm food from Applebee's. Our friends eating good in the neighborhood, but
get those 2 for $20.
Yep, the 2 for $20s, and enjoy a Dollarita or two. But yeah, those are our hot takes. So not really takes. Got a few burning questions I wanted to ask you, run by you. I think we've kind of already established it, but the first one I had was the better Wyatt Earp movie, Tombstone or Wyatt Earp. I think you and I are pretty much in agreement. It's Tombstone by a country mile.
Yeah.
Should Val Kilmer have received an Oscar nomination for his role as Doc Holliday in the Best Supporting Actor category? And before you answer that, I would just like to read to you the nominees in this category in the year 1990. Well, it'd be the 94 Oscar celebrating the year of 1993 in movies, just so we don't get confused. Pete Postlethwaite, or In the Name of the Father. Ray Fiennes in Schindler's List. Leonardo DiCaprio for What's Eating Gilbert Grape. John Malkovich for In the Line of Fire. And the winner this year was Tommy Lee Jones for The Fugitive. Would you bump any of those actors off to put Val Kilmer in there? And I will just say, I'll preface this, that's a fucking loaded category. All 5 of those performances are fucking amazing.
I would probably, with that lineup, I would probably go, and of course Tommy Lee Jones won, but I wouldn't make him the winner. Yeah, I wouldn't make him the winner. He deserved it, but I wouldn't make him the winner, in my opinion.
You wouldn't make Tommy Lee Jones the winner or Val Kilmer?
I would probably make Ray Fiennes the winner.
Oh, that should have been your hottest take of this episode.
I really like that movie. I'm sorry. It's a sad movie and I have to be in a mood to watch it, but it's a good film. There we go.
Yeah, Schindler's List is a fantastic film. However, Tommy Lee Jones as Sam Gerard fucking rocks it. Best supporting character in a film of the last 30 years. That's my fucking hottest take. Boom.
He would be my number 2 in that lineup, and then Val Kilmer would be 3.
Okay, well, who would you bump then?
Maybe John Malkovich.
That's kind of who I was thinking too. Malkovich is great in that movie, In the Line of Fire, which we need to do at some point. But compared to the rest of them, I could say his case isn't quite as strong. I would say he's probably the longest shot to win out of the 5 actors. So yeah, he'd probably be the one I would bump.
Yeah.
But damn, when movies were movies. And I'm not, Ray Fiennes in Schindler's List is fantastic. I don't want anybody to think that I'm shitting on Schindler's List. That is probably one of the most important movies of the last 30 years. That's a fantastic film, but like I've seen it twice. I mean, I have to really be in a mood to revisit that one.
Right. Yeah. It made the director depressed. So,
is this movie the peak of mustaches in movies?
At least in the 90s. Gotta be.
Yeah. I was going to say peak for mustaches has to be Burt Reynolds, because Burt Reynolds is known for the mustache.
Yep. But for the 90s, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking too. Is this the best movie? Wait, let me rephrase that. is this the best example of a troubled production succeeding? And that means like, ran into a lot of behind the scenes stuff. Maybe had a potential to fail, but ends up coming out fairly successful in the end. I'm going to say no, simply because if you ever read the stuff that went on during the filming of Titanic, and Titanic was the biggest movie of all time up until, it was it Avatar that beat
by
it?
Avatar.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Got dethroned by Avatar.
And then it won a shit ton of Oscars. I don't think you can succeed any more than that. But I mean, I would say this is probably a top 5 coming out of a troubled production smelling like roses.
Can we count fake productions such as It's Springtime for Hitler in Germany?
I don't think that counts, but I like where you're going with that. Is this the most quotable movie of the last 30 years? Now, before we answer that one, I know Anchorman, incredibly quotable movie. We got The Big Lebowski, incredibly quotable movie. But, I mean, I would say no, but it's pretty fucking quotable, especially for a Western. We've kind of touched on that already.
I say no. Within our fandom, our circle, yes. But, no, probably not overall.
Yeah, I think amongst our circle of friends, we need to really bring back some of that Tombstone dialogue.
Yeah.
Because I think our go-tos are normally The Big Lebowski or Anchorman or some of the Apatow stuff. But yeah, I think we need to bring Tombstone back into our circle of friends lexicon.
Yeah. I'm probably really bad at quoting Jurassic Park all the time, but
no, Jurassic Park has to stay because that's me and you thing. You and I do that to each other all the time. Just throw out random Jurassic Park quotes. That's got to stay. But we can just, it's like you're putting together like a wedding menu. You have you have your main course or main dish, and you've got all the little sides and stuff. Jurassic Park's staying on the menu.
Okay. Yeah, we gotta spare no expense on the menu.
Like it. Last question. I think we've kind of already answered this, but is this the last bit of Western media significant in pop culture? I would say probably no, because we've said that not Tombstone, but Yellowstone's kind of like a modern day Western. But I think up until Yellowstone, I would say, yeah. I mean, Deadwood was on HBO, and I think Deadwood's probably one of the best HBO shows of all time. But when you think about great HBO shows, most people are going to gravitate towards The Sopranos or The Wire or Succession, or, it's going to be a couple of shows before you get to Deadwood. So I would say up until Yellowstone, yeah.
I think that probably if we're talking about like classic Western cowboys, good guys, bad guys, probably, but Yellowstone's more of a modern Western.
Have you seen Yellowstone? Overall, I've never watched it.
I've seen bits and pieces, but no, I've never watched a succession of episodes.
I'm surprised I haven't, because I'm a huge Kevin Costner fan.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I haven't been able to watch any of it yet either.
Yeah, I mean, it must be a true Western, because it hasn't really piqued my interest.
Yeah, I'm not expecting you to watch it at all. I can rant. I'll marathon that, rave about it, okay, whatever. I'll just text him back yeah, I'll check it out sometime, with no intention of watching a single episode of it at all. I just want him to shut up about it. Okay, I'll check it out, and just oh yeah, I'll get around to it sometime. Last category, the Hall of Fame plaque. If you were inducting these actors into a Hall of Fame, what movie would you feature on their plaque? I would say Kurt Russell. No.
No, it's not an iconic Kurt Russell film.
I mean, I think it's not so much it's not an iconic Kurt Russell film. It's just the fact that he's done so much.
Yeah, I mean, he's great in it. Don't get me wrong, and he even directed it. But I don't. When you say Kurt Russell, you don't think Tombstone. It doesn't even cross the radar because it's not the kind of movie you think of when you think of Kurt Russell.
Yeah, I mean, when I think of Kurt Russell, it's Snake Plissken or McCready, or Jack Burton, or Captain Ron.
Yeah.
And that joke totally failed. I was hoping that I'd have got a chuckle out of it. I actually love Captain Ron. And I might be on an episode that, like, we're running out of shit to do. Like, you know what, Adam, you can sit this one out. I'm just let me cook for a little bit. I'm just gonna do a Captain Ron episode by myself.
I was gonna let it slide because I didn't know whether or not you're being serious.
Oh, dude, I fucking love Captain Ron. I fucking love it. And that was a movie that I think for a good 6 months, like, me and my buddies were calling each other Swab. Don't know why. We were just like, hey, Swab, come here. And it just kind of teetered off. No, but we're inducting Kurt Russell in the Hall of Fame. I think it's probably one of the Carpenter movies he's done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I would give it to Snake Plissken, but Jack Burton or McCready can obviously, you give him that as well. Val Kilmer.
Yes.
I was going to say, yeah, to this one too. Never really took off as a leading man. I think if, like, he was Batman, but I think Batman Forever kind of stinks. Not a huge fan of it.
Not the worst one.
It's not the worst one.
Yeah.
But
he's dry. He's the worst thing. Oh, okay. No, Tommy Lee Jones is the worst thing in that movie.
Yeah, I was going to say,
like
Tommy Lee Jones is, and I hate saying that because I love Tommy Lee Jones, but yeah, like, Tommy Lee Jones is, like, for some reason trying to compete with Jim Carrey, and it's like, I don't understand what you're fucking doing.
Right.
That's like me trying to race Usain Bolt in a fucking, like, a 40-yard dash. Like, what are you fucking doing? You have no chance at this. What are you doing?
You made the race bad just by competing in it.
Yeah, come on, dude. You're not even going to last, 20 yards, let alone 40. But yeah, his Batman, I will say, if it's not this, it's him as Jim Morrison in The Doors. He's really good in that. And he looks a lot like Jim Morrison too. And plus that movie's too weird for me. Like, I just could never really get into it. But if you go into that watching it for anything, Val Kilmer's Jim Morrison is the reason to watch it.
Yeah.
But I think it has to be this.
Yeah.
I think just Val Kilmer just doing what Val Kilmer does best. Just being, like, the guy that isn't the focal point of the movie, but, like, he's going to come in and steal the attention from the focal point. That's what he does best. Yeah, I think it would be Tombstone if I'm putting Kurt Russell in the Hall of Fame.
Right.
That's all I got, unless you want to run down want to debate the merits of Powers Booth.
No, not at all.
Which I would say would probably be him as the terrorist in Sudden Death. Or as I forget, I haven't seen it in such a long time, but he was really good in Deadwood. He ran a whorehouse in Deadwood. I would say it'd be one of those two. But
yeah.
All right. Well, that's going to wrap up Tombstone. We went a little longer than normal, but that's okay because this movie's awesome. So after you listen to this episode, go back and revisit Tombstone on Hulu or Paramount Plus. You will not be disappointed, and I guarantee it, you'll be adding it to your rotation of movies. So on that note, thanks for listening today. Be sure to check us out on social media. I dropped the links to TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, X, Twix, whatever we're calling it, Instagram, Threads, all that stuff is in the show description. If you dig what you heard here today or any of our 140 plus episodes, be sure to drop us a 5-star review on Apple. We would really appreciate it. And it would also help the show when people decide to search for things such as best mustaches in movies or Wildcat's ass. So yeah, just be sure to help us out here. Leave us a 5-star review, write a quick little sentence or two. It only takes a minute. We greatly appreciate it. So until next week, we will talk at you later, friends.
Well, bye.